Hello and welcome to the video. I want to address some criticism on the most recent update to Ghost Recon Breakpoint, the Title Update 4.0 teammate experience update. So I was watching a video from G Money Mozart, who by the way is a great Ghost Recon YouTuber. If by any miracle you find my channel and my video before you find his content, definitely go over there and check him out, subscribe. I'll link him in the description below. Anyway, I was watching his review on the Title Update 4.0. It was saying he didn't understand how Ubisoft thinks it's okay to release a major title update with so little content. And it just doesn't make sense. Now, I actually want to argue that the title update and the stuff and mechanism they add, in principle, makes perfect sense. It's the way that Ubisoft packaged and advertised this update that sort of caused, I would say, misunderstanding among the community. And I pretty much consider this a false advertisement at this point. But let me explain. Okay, now, so why does the teammate experience, or rather the teammate progression system you see here, actually makes sense? Now, obviously, when we talk about the Title Update 4.0, it's the main event or the main sort of content, quote unquote, we're talking about. So what we're discussing here is excluding all the bug fixes, all the whatever feature they add, or whatever cosmetics they have for the update. That's not our focal point here, and obviously it's not the focal point of the update, as the name of the title update suggests. The teammate experience. It's about teammate, right? So what does it make sense? Now, if you look at this level system, right, and the challenge here from the perspective of a new player, who was pretty much me, because I jumped in the game after Title Update 4.0, because I played the game during beta. I was like, this is garbage. I want nothing to do with it. Basically, at the time of Title Update 4.0 released, I was a brand new player and I jumped in. I actually did not know this whole thing is just added. So for me, it was part of the system, or rather one of the system that's in the game. And as I progressing through it, I really just didn't see nothing wrong. And with what's in these challenges and how fast I progress through these levels, because this system is used to introduce teammate, their new ability that's added in this update, and their functionality to the players, especially new players. If you look at these challenges, these are pretty much tutorial missions, right? Like, change your teammate's loadout. They're telling you, hey, you can do that, try it out, get a reward. Sync shots, introducing a major function of a teammate to you. And all these stuff, they're really just tutorials. And for me, it was kind of excessive because I play Wildlands. So I know a lot of stuff already, but say for a brand new player, this makes total sense if he doesn't know anything about Ghost Recon past Ghost Recon Future Soldier. Now, as for the teammate level system, it also makes sense that it progressed kind of fast. I mean, it could be slowed down a little bit in my opinion, but still. Now, if you look at these ability, right? These are basically buffs and actually major functions of your teammates. So as a player, these are the tools that I'm supposedly be able to employ to carry out my missions. And I didn't want these ability really to be locked behind a significant grind. That to me would actually be bad. So for a new player like me, like, I want to use all these tools to play through the whole game. I don't want to be at the end of episode 1 and still be locked out of some of these ability. I want to use them all throughout most of my playthrough. these levels are just, including these challenges, they're just tutorials to me that I want to get it out of the way rather quickly. So when I learned the reception to this update was negative, I was kind of surprised because back then I thought that this whole system and the new abilities fits pretty well within the current game structure. Of course, later I found out that this leveling system and that few challenges is pretty much all the update has to offer. So I can kind of understand more why people are complaining that there's no content. But I still think you're mistaken if you're complaining there's too little content in this update. Because know this, there's no content to begin with in this update. I guess you can argue that they can just extend the level or just add more challenges, but for me, that's not content at all. I don't consider having me headshot 10 guys in 3 seconds while doing a backflip content. That's just not content for me. And if there's some reward that's locked behind this arbitrary grind at the end, and that reward is something I want, I would actually be more pissed. Now, is it the player's fault for expecting content from this update? Absolutely not. It's totally the fault of Ubisoft, because they essentially packaged an update to the game's feature and some other miscellaneous stuff into a title update and call it a major content drop for the year's roadmap. So the problem here is not that there's no content in this update. It is rather Ubisoft false advertising an update to the game's feature to make their year 2 roadmap for this game appear to have more content than it actually does. So even if the update itself was okay or even good, because how Ubisoft miscommunicated, or rather false advertised this update to be a major content drop, people come into this update expecting more content, and when they don't find it, they think the update's garbage, while in reality, this is just not an update for more content. Instead, this update really just brought a couple of changes and additions to your teammates and try to incorporate them into the gameplay as a whole. The teammate leveling system and challenges that came with the update, they're not content, they're just tutorial. So you can't look at it and be like, oh, this is 2 hours of content, this is garbage. Because it's just not content at all. Again, if you look from the perspective of a new player, you'll understand. Using myself as an example here, I finished all the teammate leveling stuff, pretty much all of them, not even halfway through episode 1, I think. So, for new players like me, it literally adds 0 hour to the gameplay. And the existing players only get a couple of hours out of it because they've already done the activity that's in the game. But these teammate leveling system totally can be completed while you're playing through the main event, like the episodes, missions, campaign of the game. Oh, and by the way, I hate how you have to peek out of cover to throw a nade. Like, you have to expose yourself. So what's the point of like throwing a frag or a flash grenade before you enter a room? Because you're already exposing yourself anyway. But I digress. So that was my take on the whole content issue with Title Update 4.0. It didn't lack content, it just simply did not have any to begin with. But Ubisoft led people to believe that there is content coming in this update, hence the disappointment and backlash. As for whether the update improved the teammate AI in any significant or good way, that's a whole nother topic for me. But as you can see, the teammates still let enemies sneak right up behind me in a firefight. I guess at this point there's only so much Ubisoft can do with this game. Personally, I think the new abilities are fine, even though they're recycled. But the problem is they don't work right sometimes, or the balance is a little bit off. Like Fury's scan ability is just way too overpowered. And there are also bugs introduced with this update that needs to get straightened out, such as AI teammates doing mag dump while you order a sync shot. But those are all beside the point today. The point I'm trying to make here is that the update's fine in terms of adding some new mechanisms. The real problem is that Ubisoft is no longer supporting this game as much as they should for a live service platform. They're either not willing or just really not able to divert enough resources to make enough content for the game. Since the teammate experience brings no content to the table, this means the only real content we're gonna get is Operation Motherland. Ubisoft is just pretending that there's more content with some marketing stunts, because they can't afford to not have content for a live service game. But they also can't make enough content to fill out the entire year, which leave us where we are now, a title update with no real content. So these are my thoughts on the title update, why it's okay, and what's really wrong with the whole situation. I appreciate if you made it to the end. And what are your thoughts? Maybe put it down in the comment if anyone even managed to find a video. I do have some plans for future content, but I'm not too sure if it's ever going to actually happen. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. Have a good one, and I'll see you around.